What's up guys, Pete back here with another video. Today we are doing a comparison for my benchmark bowling balls. No, we're not in the center. I kind of messed up, didn't get my intro recorded or my outro. So for the intro and outro, you're going to be joining me here in my apartment. So let's get into benchmark bowling balls. Everybody talks about benchmarks. Everybody who's in the bowling world kind of knows what a benchmark is. For me though, the take on a benchmark ball is a little bit different. Now, why do I think it's different? Benchmarks, people typically talk about being your most controllable and your kind of your smoother reacting bowling balls, and the bowling balls that give you the utmost confidence, which is true. For an extent though, for me and for my game, I don't necessarily consider that to be the most controllable in that category, where we're going to look at the X1 here, for example. That is not, for me, my most controllable bowling ball, or my smoothest bowling ball, I should say. But for me and my game and how I throw the ball, the X1 for me, especially when I'm on heavier lane conditions, is the ball that I have the utmost confidence in. It's the ball I trust. I understand how it's going to read and how it's going to roll, and I just know what that ball is going to give me on any specific lane pattern. And then for my other two that I consider my benchmark bowling balls, I have the, obviously, IQ Tour Solid. That's not much of a shocker because that's kind of everybody's benchmark ball, and because of for the reasons that I talked about. It's smooth, it's controllable, it's predictable, and for me, it gives me the utmost confidence. And then another one, which probably might be a bit of a shocker to some people, is the High Road X. In terms of when I got them, this IQ is a little bit newer. The High Road X is the oldest of these three. I drilled this ball back in 2018, and it's still a staple in my bag. And it's a staple in my bag because, especially after I hit it with some surface, it gives me the utmost confidence to read a pattern. The High Road X is actually usually the first ball I throw when I warm up and when I'm practicing, when I'm bowling either a league tournament or just anything really. Even when I'm just practicing, the High Road X is usually the first ball in my hand because I have very good faith in it. I know how it's going to read the pattern, and it's going to help me dictate what my next move should be. What I consider benchmark is something that you can read and then also predict. So I can throw really either of these three bowling balls on a pattern, and they are going to help me decide what my next move is going to be. If I'm going to start with the X1 on a pattern, it might be one of the strongest balls in my bag, so that's going to help me dictate, should I ball down, should I move left, right, so on and so forth. And again, kind of the same thing for the IQ and the High Road X, especially if they're not known patterns for me. If I'm going into a tournament, I don't know what I'm going to bowl on, these guys will especially be the first two I grab because they're a little bit weaker, but again, they are predictable, they're controllable, and they're going to help me read that pattern and then help me dictate what my move should be off of it. If I see these guys not move that much, I'm going to ball up. If I see them move too much, I can now dictate I can move into different parts of the lane, or I can ball down even further from them. So that is kind of my intake on what a benchmark is for me and for my game. And now I'll take you guys to the lanes and we'll see where they stack up to each other and how they look. So let's get after it. So there you guys have it. That was my benchmark bowling ball comparison. Again, the 3 staples in my bag that I know and I trust the most, and that are going to give me the utmost confidence to read a pattern and dictate my next move on a pattern. Now, what I was bowling on there was actually a burnt up typical house shot. And that's also why I consider these guys my benchmarks, because even though I was on a burnt up condition, all 3 of those guys still looked pretty good and pretty scoreable on a condition where I probably actually wouldn't have thrown either of them. For what I was bowling on, I probably would have thrown some equipment that would have been a little bit cleaner, gone a little bit longer, and had a little bit more energy through the pins, like say my UC2, my Zen, or even my X2, even though I'm not a big fan of my X2. Again, I was on a pretty burnt up pattern right there, but these 3 bowling balls being my benchmarks still gave me really, really good looks through the pins. They were very predictable, they were controllable, and they were able to strike a lot. So that does it for my benchmark comparison video. Again, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next, and most importantly, subscribe. Until next time, guys, Pete Freezy, peace.